hope you've all been well. And as always, if there is any buffering or sound issues or lagging, I have absolutely zero control over any of that. That is all on YouTube's end. So just because sometimes it happens, and it seems like it's happened a little bit more frequently than usual lately. And also, hopefully my tripod stays standing up the way that it's supposed to. Because it toppled over on me a couple of times while I was trying to get the angles right as I was sitting down. So it's kind of a strange angle, because I was like, this is the way that it's standing, and we're gonna leave it where it is. So, hey Lexi, how are you? I hope you've been well. And I just realized, the other day, like, oh my God, I've never done a reading on Lauryn Hill. So I'm excited that we're gonna do that today, just because she's definitely somebody that, like, I feel like I grew up watching her, and she's like such a legend, even though she's also a bit problematic at the same time. So, hey Shanika, hey Ashley, hey Sophia, hey BJ, hi Lindsay. How are you guys? So, I don't know if everybody saw. If you didn't, go to my community tab. Miss Onika is starting to do a little bit better, because if you guys missed it, Carlos, the bully cat, has been hurting all of the kittens, bullying them. So it ripped out Tori and Chance's eyebrows in fights. It slashed, we call it Little Orange Baby, but its name is Miles, because it's not from that litter of kittens. He got dumped. So he's younger than them, but it slashed his face on the side right here. And Onika got it the worst out of all of them. It did like a bite wound on her back foot, and then her whole side has like this big deep scratch mark with missing hair on it. So she's been limping around, but she is starting to get up and move around a bit more, and she has even let me pet her, which I did not assume that she would let me do as long as she was injured, because literally she only started letting me pet her like the 2 days before she got in that fight. So, but she's doing much better. But we took the cutest little pictures of her yesterday, because it was like all the leaves had fallen on the ground, and she was just like posed on this little tree stump, and the light was so perfect that she looked like a little model. And I was just laughing afterwards when I was looking at the pictures, and it really did look like a modeling shoot. And I was like, well, she heard the news that pretty girls named Onika are in their model era this month, so she had to join the fun. Hey Dee, hey Hannah, hi Donna. And did y'all gag at Nikki's Vogue shoot? Oh my God. She looked so freaking good. I loved it. It was fashion. It was giving everything. Papa Bear looked so stinking cute. I can't believe how big he is already. And he's like, it's so crazy, because he's one of those kids that I feel like when he's like in pictures with Kenny, he looks like Kenny so much. But then when he's with Nikki, he looks like Nikki so much, because he's like that perfect blend of the two of them. So he's just so cute, though. I was just like, oh, little star in Vogue at 3 years old. Like, what a life. I hope he knows how lucky he is. So anyways, there's like so much stuff that happened the past couple days, like people getting their teeth knocked out backstage at Tamar's show. I was just like, what type of nonsense is this? Because what about Tamar Braxton's music like gets people in the I'm gonna go knock somebody's teeth out mood? Like, just oh my god. And then I usually like ignore everything that has to do with Bluetooth and croissants, but if you know me, you know I love me some Tamar. I have like the biggest soft spot for her. So I was like, don't be fucking up my girl's tour, okay? Because she was so freaking excited that she was gonna have this sold out tour, and now you put some stink all over it, punching people's teeth out. So, well, it's like, what? She was singing Love and War right before that. Like, what does that song just makes you want to cry in the bathroom about your damn ex? But you don't be all full of anger and piss and vinegar and like ready to fight people. Because Tamar was being nice. And if we haven't noticed at this point, everybody that's ever tried to do something nice for that girl ends up paying for it. Keke Palmer tried to defend her, and she went on live cussing Keke out and saying like, oh, well, you should have called me directly instead of getting on here talking about me. And it's like, but Keke was defending you. She wasn't doing like talking shit about you or something. Freaking didn't what's his face Jonathan bail her out of jail and like help her get a new tooth and like gave her a wig and all this shit only for her to go run back to Bluetooth and rip the tooth out and act a fool again. And Tamar was trying to, because Tamar said that she was just trying to show her some love and put her in a different space of different types of energies and people and play big sister and try to just, you know, like show her like you don't have to be ratchet and ghetto all the fucking time. Like you can chill out a little bit over here with us. And, you know, Croissant was like, no, I have to be ratchet and ghetto all the fucking time. Sorry. And dude, but it's just like, that's so fucking disrespectful to do that to somebody else's fucking tour. And the thing is that everybody's always bending over backwards to give this girl all kinds of fucking excuses. But at the end of the day, they're just enabling her to keep doing this bad behavior, number one. And number two, if y'all fucking care about her and you want her to have a career, then you need to stop co-signing her acting a fool all the damn time, because you can't be punching people backstage on somebody else's tour. Because guess what, baby girl? At some point, if you ever want to go on a fucking tour, that venue ain't gonna let you get booked there. That promoter's gonna try to stop you from coming to their city. And you just cut off so many future bags every time that you act up at big events like that. Like, oh, haha, it's ghetto because it's Zeus, whatever. So you're going to punch people on red carpets. But guess what? NBC executives are paying attention to that. So then when they're sitting there saying, oh, well, who could we put on Celebrity Big Brother? Or who could we put on this show for Bravo? Krishan's not getting called for those opportunities because they don't want to get a fucking lawsuit because she went around punching people. And that's the thing that she needs to realize too, because like she's on all these reality shows, and whether or not the reality reckoning that Bethany is trying to do, you know, is going to completely change everything for good, what it is going to do is make more people feel like they're going to sue that have been on reality shows for things that they felt like were unfair to them. And it's going to make the reality show executives be even more careful about who they choose to work with, because they don't want to get sued because somebody got assaulted on one of their sets. And she's a liability. And so it's like, why would people want to hire somebody that's a liability? Because it's like, yeah, you get views, but there's plenty of other people that can behave themselves that get views too. So she's just stopping all kinds of opportunities for herself every time she acts like this. I mean, and if you want to talk about Bravo, apparently, like, from what I was just listening to some like podcasts talking about the BravoCon thing when I was getting ready the past couple days. And, Ramona got kicked out of going to BravoCon because of her racist antics being exposed. But they were saying that like because they were supposed to be there, all of the original cast, because they were promoting like the Legacy show that's coming out. Well, I guess they had all kinds of like endorsements and stuff that they were supposed to be doing that was going to make all the cast like extra money on the side. But because it was supposed to include Ramona, they had to cancel those. So like all the girls lost a bag out of it, not just her. But then they also said that Garcelle got the most like sponsorships and endorsement deals like out of the whole entire like every housewife that was there, because she's so like advertiser friendly and so classy, and they love the way that she conducts herself. And they're like, well, we're not going to have any kind of like crazy controversy working with Garcelle, so let's just give her all the opportunities, which I love. Garcelle's my girl, so I was so excited to hear about that for her. But I'm just saying that's the kind of shit that happens, though, because look at that. Like, Ramona cost everybody opportunities by acting a fool. And they had to get rid of her because it's like, okay, well, all eyes are on Bravo right now because everybody's making all these complaints. So it's a mess. So it's like people like that aren't going to want to work with Croissant when all this kind of controversy is going on right now, and you don't want your company to be the next Vanity Fair expose article. So I love Garcelle. Like, I started actually like watching this season again just because I wanted to see Garcelle, just because I can't watch her on The Real. So since that got canceled, which I would like be gritting my teeth because Jeannie Mai would get on my everlasting nerves on that damn show. So I would be like, I'm just here for Garcelle. Like, I can't stand most of you, but I was like, well, I guess I gotta watch this season so I can get my Garcelle fix. So, you want a croissant sandwich right now? That actually sounds so good. Oh my God. Like a turkey Swiss on a croissant. Okay. Hey, Teddy. Well, we just started a few minutes ago. We were just chatting about other stuff that was going on in the world. So, and a couple announcements before we do get started with anything. Chris Brown was a Patreon request via Lindsay. So I don't take requests anywhere else except for Patreon. And if you would like to join us, it is patreon.com/psychicbellalove. And if you wanted to get your own personal and private reading, you can go to psychicbellalove.com, and Black Friday starts today on the site, so you can use coupon code THANKS, all in caps, to get 50% off most appointments, and that will be good until the end of the month. So, yes, don't give me Swiss cheese otherwise, but like with turkey and on the right kind of bread, it's so good. But otherwise, if you just tried to like give me a piece of Swiss cheese, I'd be like, no thanks, that's kind of weird. But the blogs are lighting up one by one about the new Will Smith drama. Oh, yeah. I mean, those rumors have been around forever, and I think Tisha Campbell basically like, kind of said it without saying it when her and Dwayne were like going through all of their divorce drama. So, I mean, I wasn't exactly like surprised. As far as everybody who's like, oh, why do people come out now, you know, and want to say stuff? Because NDAs, you know, expired. Like, I think people forget that. Like, you can't, for the most part, as far as I'm aware, you can't sign somebody to like a lifetime NDA. Like, they have to have some sort of an expiration date, and they don't cover crimes. So say if you like were Lady Gaga's assistant and then you saw her like stab somebody, like, your NDA isn't going to prevent you from being able to tell the police that she did that. Like, it's just that you can't go like have an interview with Vlad TV and tell them how many times a day she takes a poop, and, you know, all this stuff that you figured out by being her assistant about her life, at least for a period of time. And so, you know, when people do come out and they want to tell stories about things that happen in like the 80s, 90s, and probably like at this point, the early 2000s, it's probably because they had like some kind of a 10, 15, 20-year NDA. And now it's expired, and now it's like, okay, now I can legally talk about these things because my ass would have like gotten like a huge lawsuit. Because when you sign the NDAs, like it says on there, usually there is like some sort of monetary amount that they're warning you that they're going to sue you for if you do breach that confidentiality. So, you know, that's why people come out much later and tell their stories, because they were waiting for, you know, not to have to like pay $10 million to Will Smith because you spilled his tea. So, and you know how sneaky the Kardashians are so that they can make sure that their NDAs like still meet those legal guidelines but don't expire really? Every fucking time that you go and deal with them, you have to sign a new one. So, like, Jonathan Chebin, his useless ass, like, every time that he would go to Kim's house, whether it was just to, like, go over there or to film or something, he would have to sign a brand new NDA. So there's always a fresh one. So it doesn't matter if the first one that you signed expired, you signed a new one last week. And so now you got another 7 years added on. So a lot of them do that now. So that way, like, okay, yeah, we're still like meeting the guidelines, but you signed a new one because there's new information that you're going to be exposed to today than you were around last week when you were here. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, but I mean, you know, is anybody really surprised about like what he had to say about Will? I'm not saying it's true or not true, because I'm not trying to get sued. I'll leave the whole getting sued by people stuff to Tasha. Hey, Caitlin, how are you? Which, by the way, just to cover ourselves, everything in these videos is all alleged and for entertainment purposes only. We're just joking around and telling stories with little pictures on cards. Although you guys know that it's true. So, hey, Caitlin. Yep, everything that you guys type is all alleged and jokes. This is a comedy channel and we're all just joking around with each other. Nope, just small penis was like, damn. Hey, Jasmine, you know what? Hey, Can. It's so funny because I think that like people think that, you know, the bigger the guy, the bigger it's gonna be, but that's not always the case. And sometimes you get somebody that, you know, is a little short, skinny guy like Tory Lanez, and they're hanging down past their knees. So you cannot just go off of how tall or how big somebody is. We are fairy tale enthusiasts. Yep. So, but everything else was old news, right? I mean, we've been hearing that, like, we've heard some crazy. If you've ever been, I never, like, I always forget that Lipstick Alley is a thing, but I have people that'll, like, find random shit on there and screenshot it and send it to me because they know that, like, I wouldn't even be able to figure out how to find anything on that site either. Like, I just figured out how to use Reddit last year. So I'm like, those kinds of like forums like that confuse me sometimes. So, anyways, but like people were sending me some freaking screenshots of things that people were saying was going down at the Smith household. And I think this was like around the time that all this stuff happened with August. And then, because remember, like after that, Jaguar Wright said some other kid like ran out of their house screaming or something and started being weird afterwards. And so, like, I guess like everybody was over there spilling all kinds of tea about like things that they heard that go on at that house and how they have like a very special basement. And so I just kind of feel like we've all been like hearing that stuff for like a long time anyways, but especially the past few years, because there was a lot of people that were out there saying that they thought that like the whole situation that happens with you know, Jada and what's his face, August, was like more like that there was actually a throuple situation happening, but that Jada was kind of spending more time with August by herself without Will, and that's how the cheating aspect of it came in, because they went outside of the throuple together. So I was just like, I don't know, like it wasn't a really big surprise to me to hear somebody say that that might have happened, because I was like, well, we've been hearing that about him for years at this point. But I mean, see, this is why the lives are good, you guys, because I spill a lot of tea. And people send me a lot of stuff all the time and that I never really post. And I know so much shit that I'm not allowed to tell you guys either, because I read for so many people that work in the industry and they tell me things. And I only ever share what they tell me I can share, and I know a lot more than I'm allowed to share. And sometimes it drives me crazy because I want to be like, you guys, guess what? Like, there's one person that I'm just like, don't tell me anything anymore unless I'm allowed to share it, because you kill me. Because sometimes I just want to be like, well, I knew that was going to happen because of this, and this thing that somebody told me. So, oh my God, Lindsay. Oh my God, Kylie felt that horseshoe between her booty crack. It was like, horsey, go find another stable. This one is occupied. She was like, go back in the kitchen and cook some more tacos. So we're busy out here. So, you know what though? If you think about it, you guys, the fact that she went to Kylie's house and decided that she was going to take over Kylie's kitchen and cook everybody tacos, like, that shows you that Megan was trying to establish herself as like the more dominant female that was there that night. Because first and foremost, like, it's fucking Kylie Jenner. Like, she doesn't have a damn chef that like she could have just said like, hey, everybody's hungry, like make something for them, and they would have like gotten right in the kitchen and started whipping some shit up. But it was her trying to kind of like, you know, son Kylie and little girl her, because she was insecure, because she knew that like out of the two of them, even though she may be prettier, Kylie's still the better catch because she's a billionaire, you know, and she comes from the Kardashian name, whereas like at that point in time, Megan was still kind of like just starting to blow up. And so I think that Megan has like a real like, she just sees other females as competition so much. And I think that's why she was always backdooring Kelsey, you know, and trying to take guys from her because she saw Kelsey as competition. And so it's like to feed her ego, like she had to prove to herself that she could get any guy that she wanted, you know, even if he was with her friends. So, you know, it's just like, I just think that that was like a really interesting detail about that whole night, especially because then what came out in the trial that she was calling Kylie a lame when they were in the pool and like trying to like talk down to her and was like being aggressive towards her and shit. So that wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to be a good guest. That was, I'm going to take over your house and own it and get all the attention on me because I'm making everybody food. So, and then don't forget that she tried to fight Kylie at Carlos's birthday party during the pandemic. And that's why her and Carlos weren't friends for quite a while and why they are just fake friends now, because the both of them can't walk around with egg on their face that they're not buddy anymore, because their whole thing of linking up was coming together against Nicki Minaj. So now it's like they're stuck having to pretend to be friends when they don't fucking like each other, because Jason's the one that told that tea and said that Carlos was so upset because she has a good relationship with the Kardashians and she doesn't want to fall out with them, and that she was super pissed that Megan chose to do that at her birthday party because she was worried that they were going to think that she was like in cahoots with Megan to set Kylie up or something by inviting her. So, which, listen, this is probably one of the only times, unless hell freezes over, that you're ever going to hear me defend Carlos. But if you're coming to my fucking birthday and you're going to get aggressively drunk and then try to fight somebody, like that alone is like not something that you would want your friends to do anyways. But number two, especially from a business standpoint of, you know, because we did see Carlos end up in a Skims ad. So it's like, I want to be able to have a good relationship with these people and get a bag from them and not have them as my enemies in Hollywood, you dumb bitch. Like, you know, because as much as it's like we may not like the K clan, they're also probably people that you don't want to have an issue with in the industry because they can be fucking ruthless about trying to like blackball people and mess with their shit. So, you know, Carlos had every right to be upset with Megan for doing that. And now I want to vomit because I defended Carlos. And see, this is why we don't like you, Megan, because you put me in the position where I had to defend Carlos against you. Like, my God, what a horrible person you must be that we had to defend Carlos against you. So, Croissant and Mucus don't think the long term with their short temper attitude. I mean, that's the thing. And that's the thing that I think that Mucus does not understand when it comes to her whole situation now of being a free agent, because they can act like she chose to be independent all she wants right now. That was not her choice. It's already been leaked that she was in discussions with Atlantic and with Columbia, and I forget the other record label, but nothing panned out yet. And so the thing is that not only does she have the issue of what happened with Tori, but because she was so public about fighting with Carl and being so vicious about trying to constantly accuse him of certain things and going after him and suing him over and over and over again, and then the shit that he had to say about her, that makes her look like a liability. Because, you know, think about it, when you're, say, Atlantic, and I'm just saying them because they're the first one that came to mind, and you're sitting here considering whether or not you feel like Megan Thee Stallion is going to be a good investment for your record label, because obviously if you're going to sign her, you need to make money off of her. And you're just going to think about how over the years, certain artists have gotten mad because they wanted more control over certain things than their label was going to allow them to have. And then you think about the way that Megan reacted because she decided that she didn't like her contract with Carl. And then you're going to be like, do we want Megan to be publicly having temper tantrums about us? And then, you know, 2-3 years from now, when she wants to go do something crazy and we tell her that we're not going to fund that. And it's like, maybe we fucking don't. So that's the reason why she's independent right now, you guys, is because she's having to prove herself. Because I guarantee you they'll took a let's wait and see what happens, put out a record independently, let's see what it does. If it does numbers, if it does well, if people are seeming to forget the stink that you have all over you from your past controversies and are willing to accept you in your new era, then we'll make a bid and sign you. And at some point, somebody will sign her, you guys. But that's what's going on right now. So, you know, and again, if Rock Nation really had believed in that girl, they would have made a deal with Carl from the get-go. They wouldn't have let it get to the place that it was. They would have went and made an offer and said, we want to buy Megan out and sign her ourselves. How much do you want to release her? Everything would have been a quiet, done deal, a handshake, all smiles across the board, and everybody moved on peacefully with their life. But they made this girl go millions of dollars into debt, suing Carl constantly to try to get out of her contract rather than them take on the burden. So that's already showed you that Rock Nation didn't fully believe in this girl. And then didn't they just sign Ken the Man? And that's why she needs to open up her eyes and stop being so, oh my God, Beyonce loves me. And see what's really going on, because she's putting far too much fucking trust into some people that are showing that they really don't fuck with her the way that she thinks that they do. And they set her up so that she's indebted to them, and they're giving her very little in return. And she needs to realize that before it's way too late, because, girl, if they decide, well, we're done with Megan, she's gonna be screwed. So, exactly, Teddy. They did that for Uzi. They bought him out of his contract and signed him. They did it to other artists in the past. So, and that's another thing that's going to go against her when other labels are looking at signing her, because they're going to be like, well, why would a Rock Nation sign you? You must not really be that, big of a money maker, or you must be hard to deal with or something, because, think about it. It would be in Rock Nation's best interest, because then every fucking dime that Megan makes, they're getting a piece of. If they're the ones that have her record contract and they're managing her, every single dime that she makes filters through the House of Rock Nation before it even makes its way into Megan's account. And they don't have to share it with anybody else. So that's why it's like, isn't that a little suspicious that they wouldn't want to be the sole beneficiaries of everything that Megan is doing? That tells you something. So I know Jay got her under an NDA. She's speaking death on herself in the new song, Don't Be Surprised. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the industry is really quickly moving on from these pandemic artists like Megan and Glorilla. It's a bit jarring. Well, let's look at where music is and the industry is headed in the future first. I was going to do a separate video on this, but I was like, let's just do it on a live. So I've kind of just been channeling some stuff since I was going to do it in a separate video. And I've been like, jotting down notes about it. But one big thing, if you haven't noticed, that has been happening in the industry, and this morning I was actually listening to Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald, and she had Kim Pyre on as her guest, and they were actually talking about this happening too, where, the music industry, rather than putting artists through artist development and picking people who are really talented, but they may be unknown, and putting in the work to, develop them as an artist and help them build that following and fan base, they're just going over to being like, well, who's got a bunch of views on TikTok? And then choosing people who already have a fan base and a platform and prioritizing that over talent. But then what happens is that it's like, well, anybody can make a little viral bop, but not everybody is actually like a real true freaking artist who can consistently keep making good music, who has that quality that you need to be a star so that you can, put on good performances and grow as an artist over time and develop a really great stage presence and build a bigger fan base and following. So what you're getting is, kind of like just these little flash in the pan Pop-Tart kind of situations where it's like, people have about an 18-month run. And then it's like towards that end of that, like 18 months, like they start falling off as a new one starts to pop up to take their place. And it's just like, all these disposable artists. But the thing is that, and then the executives want to sit there and cry and be like, nobody has anybody that's like a new Doja Cat or a Nicki Minaj to sign right now. Ice Spice is the only one that's like really blowing up, and she's already signed to somebody and whining in interviews and stuff. And it's like, but y'all are the ones that did that to yourselves. Because you're picking people based off of, oh, that they went viral on TikTok, rather than somebody that's a real true artist that's gonna have longevity in their career. And they've lost sight of the fact that it takes somebody a minute to get to that point. But then once they do, you're going to have an artist that's going to sell for a good 20 years versus somebody that's only going to sell for 6 months. So, but they're still benefiting and profiting off of it either way. So it's kind of this vicious cycle right now. Oh yeah, Juicy Fruit. Leora Cohen owns her name and her likeness and all of that stuff. Well, and that's what happens, you guys. Those are the things that people don't talk about when they talk about a 360 deal. Dario has addressed it, but I don't believe we did on YouTube. I think it was in Patreon that Dario did a video with me and broke all that stuff down about like the contracts and everything. But basically what happens is, it's not just, oh, they get a piece of every, thing that you do, whether it's the music, the royalties, the YouTube views, the touring. It's that it goes beyond that to where they basically own your name and your likeness. And they will go and trademark certain things that you become known for, so that if you do anything, you do a Walmart deal, guess what? They fucking own your name, so they're still getting a piece of that Walmart deal. And it's that they own you for the life of that contract. So it's like, and that becomes another vicious cycle, because it's like, they're obviously, when they're in a 360, they're not making, that much from the music. So they get put into a position where they also have to basically be an influencer at the same time, so that way they can get those lipstick and shampoo deals and whatnot to pay their other bills. But then every other side deal that you do, trying to actually make yourself some money, it still goes back to the people that are keeping you from making all the money off of your music. So when people say that they're basically like slave contracts, I mean, they're not exactly 100% wrong, because there's no other industry that would allow anybody to have contracts that are so restrictive, and that one entity gets to make all of that money off of every single thing that somebody does, or to basically outright own them, like the music industry is allowed to do to its artists. So, and they do it in the interest of, well, this is another way of us recouping, what we were making or what we put into you. And so you guys can imagine, because we all know, even if you didn't realize it at the time when it was happening, Atlantic put a hell of a fucking lot of money into Carlos. They had freaking Oprah telling people to listen to her. Do you think Oprah did that shit for free? They had, every blog and every freaking DJ was blowing up about, oh, you need to listen to her song, and it was getting played everywhere, and there was all kinds of payola put into it and stuff. She has to pay for that shit. So you can imagine we're gonna end up seeing that girl doing a hell of a lot of fucking Walmart commercials next year. Because she never recouped what they, you know, poured into her. They've obviously shelved her. So it's just like, oh my God, like she's gonna have to do something. And Spirit was telling me, I shared this in Patreon last night, that Spirit was saying we are gonna see her go into her James Charles / Jacqueline Hill era of let me sell you shit constantly, all day, every day. Link in my stories for this tank top I'm wearing because the girl's got bills to pay. So, and she canceled that lawsuit on Tasha, like I told you guys that she was going to. So she can't count on Tasha to pay her bills anymore. So imagine that you spent $4 million going to court against somebody to get a $4 million judgment. Well, the $4 million was for going to court for her and then trying to collect the $4 million judgment. So it's like, but you would have only been at net zero with that if you actually had gotten it from her anyways, only to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to cancel it because you apologized to me and you submitted to me and you're going to start bashing Nikki for me. And so now you're $4 million in the hole for nothing. And I told you guys that because if you watched, me and Dario did a video on the, you know, Tasha's bankruptcy and on the whole situation with her lawsuit with Carlos and trying to get that $4 million judgment. And we said, because the judge was proposing in the bankruptcy court that they settle for, I think it was like $200,000 because her whole bankruptcy that she's doing is the restructuring of debt. So that's a part of it, is that they try to negotiate how much she owes to each creditor down to a reasonable amount. And then she gets so many years of monthly payments to pay those debts off. So the judge was trying to push Carlos and her lawyers to accept the $200,000 judgment instead, so that it could be reasonable for Tasha to pay it back. So Carlos did this because she knew that they were going to have to do that, because the judge could just order it. It was like, try to work it out amongst yourselves before I make a final decision, and I'm probably going to order for that to happen anyways. So she was going to lose anyways. So this is how she spends it. Look at Carlos. She has such a big heart. All she ever wanted was for Tasha to apologize. Now they're the best of friends, and she canceled the lawsuit. And then she gets the, you know, look at how charitable Carlos is, points. And she gets to save face and spin it and manipulate it to seem like she did something nice. So they dropping that movie Baby Shark the day Nicki's album release. Shit getting weird. She dropped a song 2 days after Nicki. She's a weirdo. But I mean, well, I'm sure, Lindsay, that there was, you know, papers that were signed behind the scenes saying that she can't say anything negative about Carlos going forwards. I wouldn't be surprised if the videos actually do come down off her channel now. But Carlos's lawyers 100% for sure made Tasha sign some sort of agreement before they went to the courthouse and dropped that lawsuit because they weren't going to just do it on a hope and a prayer that Tasha was going to follow through. So if Carlos is smart, Lindsay, she used Tasha to keep her name in the algorithm. She's going out sad, no tour dates, no album, just bots and Nicki haters. I mean, well, this is the thing. I think it was Female Rap Game posted this on Instagram, and it's very true. That I think she originally posted it on Twitter, but I saw it on Instagram because I don't use Twitter. But basically, she said that the whole time that Carlos and Lotto and Megan were all worried about Nicki, then Sexy Red and Ice Spice slid in and took their spots. And JT's coming right up behind them, and so it's like they were focused on the wrong person the whole time and, trying to compete with the wrong person. And since their eyes were, focused in the wrong direction, the other girls just came right in. So it's true. Just wait. Someday Carlos will end up on a reality show. Again, she'll return to her roots. So, well, that's the thing. Tasha's never going to make $4 million. And, Dario was saying in the video that we did, because, part of the restructuring in a bankruptcy is that they also decide, because you can only take so much of a person's income and force them, whether it's through wage garnishments or repayment plans or whatever, you can only take a certain portion of anybody's income, because they still have to have a reasonable amount of money to live, especially when they have children that they have to house and feed. And so I forget how much Dario said that it was, but it's like, 20 or 25%, or maybe it's 30% of a person's income with that. But that 30%, if say it's that high, then gets divided amongst all of the creditors, and they prioritize who they feel like is the most important creditor that needs to be paid back first. Well, Tasha owes the IRS. IRS is always going to come first, so they're going to get the biggest chunk. She had medical bills. She had a truck payment. There was some other stuff that Dario said would be prioritized because the courts would see it as more important to be paid off to, like school stuff and whatever. So it's like Carlos's judgment would have been like the very last thing on that damn list anyways. So by the time that it trickles down to her, she was going to get like $3.48 a week out of Tasha's garnishments. So it was when Tasha was like saying that it was going to take her 60 years of monthly payments to pay off Carlos, like she wasn't exactly lying. So it's just like, oh my God, like she just, wasn't going to get very much as it was anyway. So it's just like, girl, was it really worth the millions of dollars? Like when Dario broke everything down, I was just like, oh my God. She spent millions of dollars to go through this just to get these little teeny tiny ass payments on an every other week or monthly basis, depending on how Tasha's income is structured. Like, what the fuck? I mean, you really have to be stupid. But that's why Lawyer for Workers, he always says, you're better off suing a business or a corporation than a person, because you're depending on the person to actually have the money to settle with you, and that they're going to maintain a certain level of income so that you're going to continue to get consistent payments towards your pain and suffering, versus like you sue Walmart, like they got insurance for that shit, so you probably are going to get an upfront payment, or at least very regular, like big lump sum payments, but you'll actually get your freaking money. So it's like, it's just like so funny though, because it's like, really, girl, like that's, you like wasted so much time and money and you weren't gonna get shit regardless. But that's why everybody was saying, like, why is she suing her for so much? And I always said, like, I felt like that $4 million judgment was like extremely excessive. I think that they should have just made Tasha take every one of the videos down, gave her a fine for each one of the videos, like $5,000 or $10,000, make her pay $75,000 up front for pain and suffering, and make her issue an apology and just stop talking about her, would have been fair enough. But $4 million was pretty freaking crazy. But Carlos did put in the lawsuit that she paid $1 million just to sue Tasha. So now that means, and this is the thing, guys, I guarantee you that Atlantic probably found her all those lawyers, probably did pay for some of the costs up front for them, so that they could tack that on Carlos's back end to keep, to hold her hostage even more. So she's in a lot of fucking debt with Atlantic. And just a lot of fucking debt in life anyways. Michael tried to warn all these artists, they're just too dumb. Y'all, can you imagine how Michael Jackson would have felt about Off-Cheat's wife? Like, every time the Off-Cheats wants to cosplay as Michael Jackson, I just sit there and think in my head, your wife is everything that Michael Jackson said that the industry would turn into if they didn't learn how to respect artists' rights and treat artists better, that they would just go looking for more people that were easy to control, and that it would delve into a place of like no talent and people didn't do anything. And it's like, she's just everything that Michael was like so against and warned everybody about. So it's just like, Off-Cheat, you need to stop. When he be trying to pretend like he's Michael Jackson Jr., it's like, you need to stop right now, because your idol would have hated your wife. I see why celebrities don't pursue certain lawsuits, because it costs more than they'll receive at the end. Oh, I guarantee you that's why there's probably hella people that were all ready to go sue Jason Lee or the Shade Room, or any of these other people, and then probably talked to their lawyers and found out, like, okay, well, yeah, it's probably gonna cost me $500,000 to get a $50,000 judgment against them, so like, fuck that. So but it's crazy. So let's talk about the future of the music industry. So I know y'all have noticed all of the satanic symbolism that's been, really in our faces lately. It's gonna get even worse going forwards. So, and people are gonna go even more and more into the shock value factor of things, because everything, if you haven't noticed, like cycles so fast these days. Every kind of trends, whether it's music trends, clothing trends, aesthetics, you know, and, oh, I'm an e-girl, now I'm cottagecore, now I'm goth punk, whatever. It's like everything is just like go, 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 because people have the TikTok attention spans now. And so, you know, and then you get oversaturated by the same thing. And when it's everybody's doing it on social media, that you either get tired of it really fast or you get sucked into wanting to be like that and do that thing too. So there's gonna be more of the I have to do all of the shock factor stuff for attention, since everything is moving so fast, so that I can stand out against everybody else. And so it's like we've seen everybody's ass at this point. You know, it's just like, who doesn't know how to twerk these days, and who hasn't seen everybody and their grandma twerk at this point? That is no longer like, woo, look at that. So they're gonna be doing all kinds of crazy wild shit to stand out from one another. Some of it'll be very demonic, some of it'll be just downright disgusting, and some of it's gonna be even more overtly sexual than you could ever imagine. So be prepared for that. There's going to be even more blink and you miss it artists that come and go, because they do have, you know, the little song of the moments on social media, and they get, you know, picked up. But Spirit saying, rather than them actually getting full, you know, would it be like, instead of them getting like normal full like recording contract 360 deal, whatever, what they're gonna end up getting is more like distribution deals. So it's like you're still semi-independent, but Columbia is gonna do all the distribution for your music, so that way they're not putting themselves as labels at such a risk in case these people do turn out to be one-hit wonders. But if they do continue to put out music that is profitable, then they're still benefiting by being, you know, the distributors for it. So we will see, you know, lots of those blink and you miss it artists. We're going to also see pop music come back in a big way, and that's going to be where we're also going to see a lot of other acts from like country to rap, you know, start to kind of move more into like more of a pop sound over the next few years. This is kind of based on a trend, because if you, I forget where I saw this, but basically there was a study that was done that anytime that we are in an economic recession, pop music becomes more popular, because people are looking for things to lift their spirits, and they don't want to hear murder, kill, take a bunch of drugs, depression music when their life is already like stressful. They're looking for that escape through music, and so they want to have that. Plus on top of it, we have the Y2K resurgence right now, and pop music was like the big thing at that time too. So we're gonna see a huge push towards that, especially next year. So but there is a very concentrated effort amongst the industry to let hip hop and rap die out. And what it will end up being is that they'll split off into two kinds of groups, where it's like one side is more like pop and the other side is more like rock, grunge, metal, industrial, kind of the direction that we've seen like Uzi Vert go into more. And then, you know, we'll have the pop that it's like Nicki's pop era like type music. And the reason being is, if you haven't noticed, and this is going to be kind of deep for some people, and I can only go so deep because we only have so much time I can be on live today. But you could join patreon.com/psychicbellalove for more, because this is kind of stuff I really get into over there. If you haven't noticed, there's been a real programming that is taking place in the world of trying to make everybody kind of be the same. That's why everybody all of a sudden looks the same, because they all got the same surgeries. That's why everybody, you know, is kind of went into all having their houses decorated the same, having the same style. Everybody's wearing the same kinds of clothes. It's because they're trying to, if they can program everybody to think the same, then they can control everybody easier. And music is a huge way where they influence people. And so if they can just split it up into 2 groups or 3 groups of music rather than have all these genres, then they have a wider group of people to influence. Because when it comes down to it, while they have been, in their point of view, they feel that they've been extremely successful in programming people to do all kinds of things through rap music and hip hop, that it still is a more narrow market of the overall music audience. And so it's like, well, let's meld everything together, and then we reach bigger audiences of people to influence in a negative way. And since hip hop and rap is like the smallest kind of subgroup in their eyes, on top of being the newest genre of music, it's easier to just get rid of that. But ultimately, they're going to destroy every era of music, and it will all end up being AI generated at some point. This is also why, guys, that, you know, we keep seeing, oh, Justin Bieber's catalog, you know, was sold, and then now Katy Perry's. And it's like, why are all these publishing places buying everybody's masters in publishing suddenly at the same time that everybody's saying, like, oh, like, you can't make money in music anymore. Like, it's super hard to make money in music. Because it's like, wouldn't that not be a big draw as a business to go buy like something that's not actually making money? Well, the big point is that they can now, because they own all of these masters of Justin Bieber's recordings and Katy Perry's, now they have access for their AI to take those vocals and to take the, you know, different sounds and things and use that to create their perfect artist that everybody's gonna love, that's gonna put out the perfect songs. It has nothing to do with actually trying to profit off of what the music itself can actually do at this moment. It's about what they can do with all the other stuff when it comes to the tech side of it and the AI that they're really investing in and counting on to carry on in the future. So, you know, they kind of have to let the music genres, whether it's country, whether it's rap, whether it's pop, they kind of have to let it be infiltrated by all of these untalented people and kind of let it die down. Because think about it, you know, when it's like, would you like to listen to John Legend sing to you or a robot? How many people are going to pick the robot? Not very many, right? But if John Legend isn't making music anymore, and there's no other people that have come out with music in the last 10 years that sound good, you're going to be much more likely to want to listen to the robot sing to you. So, you know, they're really just trying to let it die out so that way they can shove all of us into the next era and then think about it. They don't have to pay a human being anymore to go out and perform or to spend hours in the recording studio. They don't have a human that's going to fight with them and take them to court or any of that stuff. They have an AI that's going to do whatever the hell that they want it to do, and it's going to be cheaper. And they're going to make way more money off of it. So, I think that there will be a very big bootleg market where, you know, people still want to go see real humans perform. But I think it's, you know, it's just, that's the way that things will be in the future. But remember, I'm saying in the future, guys. I'm not saying like this is going to happen 6 months from now. I'm just saying based off of the things that are happening right now, that's why they're happening, because that's the ultimate plan down the road. So, you know, we have some very evil people that run the entertainment industry, guys. But let's move on to Miss Lauryn Hill. So what questions do we have about her? Because I got to get off of here by 1 o'clock. So I got to make sure that we got enough time for the other people now. Like that AI Lil Miquela. I haven't seen that, but I'll have to look it up. This reminds me of that old Disney Channel movie called Pixel Perfect. She was basically a hologram that was programmed to be the perfect artist. Oh, I never heard of that movie. I can imagine them bringing the holographs out again. Well, have you guys seen the ones that they do of ABBA? Like, they have whole, like, freaking virtual concerts and stuff. And it looks like ABBA is like performing live, but like they haven't performed live together in like 20 or 30 years. But they're doing like whole like sold out European shows with their holograms. It's crazy. So, okay. Lindsay, what was the real reason why she didn't make a second album? Let me see. Yeah, make sure you guys write question in the front. You loved Pixel Perfect. Raviv Ullman was the hottest male Disney lead. I'm going to have to go. I don't know who that is, but I have to go look him up. But you guys know that's the real reason why Elon bought Twitter, right, guys? To help develop AI for his Neuralink stuff and for other things that he has planned in the future and the robots that they're developing, because it has all the information about human think patterns and all these different languages and speech patterns and things like that to mine all this data from. It wasn't about free speech or anything else that he claimed that it was. So that's why, like, sometimes people will, like, buy these weird sites or do things like that that you don't, you know, really understand, like, why would they buy that? Or that's kind of weird, but it's not about the actual product. It's about all of the back end and the data that you can actually get from the product that's more valuable to them. So he loves, let me see. It was for teens, so it's probably so corny and cringe now. Oh, well, see, it's like, I think I missed, like, out on a lot of this stuff because you guys are, like, a bit younger than me. So it's like, when that stuff was coming out, like, I was too old to watch it on my own, but my kid was, like, either not born yet or, like, too young to be watching that kind of stuff yet. So I feel like that's why sometimes I'm just like, I just kind of, like, missed from both sides in knowing what that is. But okay, so what is the reason again why Lauryn gave for not wanting to, or for not having put out this second album? Because it is talking about, like, her not being truthful, like telling only half the story. It is showing her love life playing a part in that, though, and going through a very, very deep heartbreak. But she also did really feel like she was gonna be, either was already starting to be controlled by the industry, but she saw it just going down, like, an even darker path. And it scared her because those were things that she didn't feel like she was ready to deal with. So she chose herself and her family, is what it's showing. So basically they wanted her to join the Illuminati and she did not want to. So, I mean, that's just to get straight to the point. And that's also why she stopped acting as well, Lexi. So when she doesn't come out, sometimes when she's scheduled to perform or she comes out super late, she definitely practices her own spiritual stuff. Spirit saying that that was something that when she took her big step back was that she went and trained in spiritual practices so that she could do her own work and her own protection. And so she knows that any dealings that she has with the industry, even if it is just going and performing at concerts, you know, it's still connected to the industry, that there's people that are, you know, dark energy and not great. And so she will stay in her dressing room when she senses that there are those people that do not wish her well around, so that she can make sure that she feels like she is as protected as she could be, so that she doesn't suffer any harm later on, so to speak. So, I mean, you can't blame her. She's gonna surprise everybody with something, though, and drop something with somebody big soon. Because I do see that this is an opportunity for her to make money, but also because this is somebody that she has really wanted to work with. And she knows that it's gonna gag people. So it's not gonna stop her from being late and coming out to shows though. But I think we can maybe figure out who that might be. Cough, cough, Pink Friday. But will this lateness negatively impact her ticket sales going further? Yes. But I mean, people kind of know what they sign up for when it comes to seeing her live, okay? Because this is not a new thing. This has been an ongoing thing forever. So, you know, it won't like stop her from like being able to sell tickets. It's just certain places where it's like, I'm back in Kansas City, but last time I was here, I didn't come out for 4 hours. You know, like maybe her Kansas City ticket sales aren't going to be that great because people are like, yeah, well, last time, like, it took you forever to come out and then you like sang for 10 minutes and then you were done. But overall, is it? Not really. Not to the point that it's going to ruin too much for her. Yeah, I'm sure she was, Hannah. Ooh, I want the collab. I know. Me too. So, anyways, guys, is there any more Lauryn questions? Or are you guys ready to move on to Chris Brown? Lauryn seems like a lunatic to you. Listen, I mean, if you haven't noticed, a lot of people in Hollyweird or who have dealt with Hollyweird tend to have kind of a similar frantic energy to them at times. Or a very like, fuck it, I just don't care anymore. Because I kind of, you know, took my step back and deal with it on my own terms kind of energy. So like, you know, Lisa Bonet is one of those types, whereas like the frantic types are like Anne Heche, Kanye West, Britney Spears. Like, if you pay attention, sometimes the people that you think like are like a lunatic or something like that, they have similarities with other people that have seen things or dealt with some real shit within the industry. And, you know, it's like, is there really something wrong with them, or are they just traumatized? You know? So, what is her perspective of the industry today? Okay, that'll be the last question on Lauryn, and then we'll move on to Chris Brown. Spirit's saying that Spirit saying that to her, it's everything that she was afraid that it was going to be. And mind you, she was close with Prince. And so Spirit saying like her and Prince like talked about, you know, this kind of stuff. And there was other artists that she had conversations with back in the day, you know, that talked about how like this is the state of the industry was headed to, where everybody's openly satanic and, you know, people are in crazy contracts and so overly controlled and so easily disposable. And it's just like Spirit saying, you know, to her, it's like, while she was disappointed that she felt like she had to take such a big step back from doing the things that she felt like she was born to do to protect herself. Like, it was easier for me to do it then than it would have been for somebody to try to do the same thing that I did now, where it's even worse. So it's kind of like giving her a new perspective, if that makes sense. So Lisa's daughter Zoe seems so thirsty for fame. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't really get that vibe from her, but I don't pay a bunch of attention to actors. Usually all the stuff I pay more attention to is like music. She's really pretty though. But I mean, would we expect anything less when your dad is freaking Lenny Kravitz and your mom is Lisa Bonet, and they're like the two most attractive people in the entire world anyways? So of course their child's gonna be super attractive too. But what questions do y'all have about Chris? Put question in front of it. I am gonna be right back. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry guys, I had to sneeze. I stopped like taking all my allergy medicines because I felt like I built like up a tolerance to all of them and none of them were working anymore. So with all the leaves falling, like all the stuff that was like stuck in the trees comes down with it. So like now like I get like allergies in the early fall and I didn't want to sneeze on camera. So but yeah, if you see my eyes are ever red, it was like my eyes always get itchy this time of year and red from this. So how long will this little get together last with him and his second baby mama? I feel like when it comes to like Chris and the baby mamas, excluding the first one, it's like a harem type situation or polyamorous or whatever you would want to refer to it as, where it's like, you know, they're just, oh, I get to be the main girlfriend this week. Almost like how Nick Cannon's situation is, right? Where it's like he's dating all of the baby mamas, you know, but they're not allowed to date anybody but him. So Spirit saying, you know, it's just kind of, you'll keep seeing him with her, you know, and then you see him with the next one, and then you might see him with a completely different girl. She's not going anywhere. So, you know, oh, so just 1 second, guys. I'm not sure if it's buffering on your guys' end or if it's just on my computer being as slow as it is. So, but if it is on YouTube, I have no control when it's doing that on YouTube, guys. So I'm sorry. They even have fan pages named that way too. Named what? The Harem? So how does Chris feel about Omarion when he discusses having karate first? Dude, that was like crazy for like Omarion to even bring that up. Like, why were you even like talking about that? Because I don't know. I mean, it's just because everybody knows how much Chris was like obsessed with Karuchi. And, you know, so it's kind of like, you don't do that because that's like just kind of fucked up, especially if you're cool with that person. So hold the questions for a minute, guys, so I can answer the ones that are... It pissed him off, but he also felt like, especially because Omarion, if you guys didn't notice, literally like the next day posted that he put out like a sped up version of Post to Be so that people could use the sounds for TikToks and Reels. So he felt like, oh, that was calculated. Because that's the song, obviously, that, you know, they're on together. And so it's like, oh, you did that shit on purpose because you knew that you had this song. And so the best way to like promote it was to like, you know, say this shit like this because then everybody's going to be like, oh my God, and go listen. So even though Chris like tried to like dead it just because he's like whatever, like it's petty drama, at the same time, we know how Chris is. It's fuck Omarion from here on out as far as he's concerned. Like, you know, I'll be okay, but like, you're not my brother. We're not friends. Like, shit's not cute. Like, don't be trying it ever again with me. So he's a Scorpio, so he has his ways of digging his nails in. I know, that's that's the thing. And you know what Spirit's saying is that Omarion has a real jealousy when it comes to Chris because he feels like he should have the same, you know, level career that Chris has, where even though Chris is like, you know, canceled all the time, Chris can still always drop an album and still gonna chart. He's still gonna go on a sold out tour. He's still gonna sell out all his meet and greets because he has that real hardcore fan base that rides with him regardless of whatever new BS allegations that have to come out every time that he has anything dropping. And so, you know, to Omarion, he's like, oh, I should be in that space. And Spirit saying that it bothers Omarion that like the only way that he really can do a big tour that anybody would be interested in is something like the Millennial Tour, where you have to go out and be a part of B2K again, and then you also have to be on tour with Pretty Ricky and, you know, this group and that group. Like, it's not just Omarion being able to go on sold out tours and pack, you know, the venues that Chris is able to do. And so he's jealous. So it's just like that was his little way to like express his jealousy. And Spirit saying, of course, the fact that he lost Karuchi to Chris like only burned his ass even more. So it was like, well, I can be a little petty and say this and then also promote the song and try to benefit off of it. Didn't somebody say like, oh, the rent must be due or something like that? Who made that meme? I swear I saw that somewhere, like when Omarion said that, and I was like dying laughing. Omarion can dance, but Chris is a performer. Right? Well, that's the thing. I mean, Chris will freaking... spin around on his head and sing at the exact same damn time, and he sounds exactly like he did like on the freaking like Spotify, you know, studio recording version of the song, because he's just that good. Somebody else that I actually saw in concert that's that good too, surprisingly, is Jason Derulo. Because I won like tickets to see him when I was like pregnant with my kid from a radio station with my friends, and we went, and he was like dancing around and singing live the whole time, and he sounded exactly like he did on the radio, and he was a really good performer. But who would Chris like to collaborate with? Spirit saying he wants to work with more females. But it has to be people that he feels like, you know, are really good artists as well, and then aren't going to turn around and throw them under the bus like Tinashe did. But I keep hearing Coco Jones, and honestly, Coco Jones and Chris Brown's voices together would be fucking amazing. I just don't know if her team would want to, you know, associate her with Chris, since he's always like, you know, people just can't forgive him and move on. Him and the Tyler girl should work together. That would be good too. But this is the thing. Do you guys remember how much backlash Chloe Bailey got for doing that song with him? So that's the thing that I feel like, you know, because Chloe got that backlash, that would probably keep people, you know, teams that are trying to like blow up an artist like Tyler or Coco Jones probably are like looking at what happened with Chloe and saying, you know what, maybe we just wait on that one. So it just sucks that that happens to him all the time. And I mean, you guys, let's just point something out, because I think that Chris Brown has really gone through a hate train too, and people never recognize that. And the crazy thing is, if you guys don't notice, that there's a real big pattern here, that like literally every time that Chris has another album coming out, all of a sudden, oh, Chris got in a fight with somebody. Oh, some girl said that Chris punched her in the face on a boat. It's always like, and then what happens? The cases always get dropped later on, or it comes out that it didn't happen. It's like none of, like, he's been accused of so many freaking things, but like when you actually look into all of the cases, it's always like, oh, like actually that didn't happen, or the people couldn't prove it, or they dropped it. But there's a real pattern. Chris has an album coming. Somebody's gonna accuse him of some bullshit. So, you know, that's why it's just take everything with a fucking grain of salt when you start hearing things about him at this point. Trey Songz, listen to that, because that, people been saying that about him for a real long time before it became even more public the way that it is now. But the Chris stuff, it's been proven over and over not to be real or not to be true. So it's just such bullshit. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, that's the thing. And they'll be real loud about the allegations, but then when they drop whatever investigation or lawsuit or whatever was supposedly filed, you get one little teeny tiny story posted on one blog, or like in the corner in the bottom on TMZ, and then most people miss that, like, oh, like, whoever said whatever they're claiming this time dropped their case. And then people just forget. And then, the next time it's like, oh my God, he must have done it because all these people keep going after him. And it's the same thing, honestly, like with Michael Jackson, where like people would accuse him of shit, but then it would turn out like, oh, like that never happened or it couldn't have happened. And then after he passed away, like the FBI raided his house and they didn't find any evidence of anything. All they found was big booty hoe pictures and straight people porn. And and because, but it's like to this day, like people are still like, oh my God, Michael Jackson was this monster. And it's just like because they know that, what do you call, like, all you have to do is taint somebody's public perception just enough that people will still like have this belief that they're a monster regardless of how much evidence comes out otherwise. And so they just live with a damaged reputation forever. So, it's just like it sucks because then people feel comfortable. Oh, well, everybody already believes that Chris is going to do something. So then it becomes easy to accuse him of crap. And I feel like a lot of these people like take advantage because it is like, oh, I want my name out there. Chris has an album coming, so everybody's talking about Chris. So let me go, file a BS lawsuit or like sell a story to a blog and say that he did something. It's just, so if you guys feel like you see Chris stressed out or that he seems like he's got depression or he just isn't doing well, I mean, can you blame him? Because imagine you're so excited because you like spent all this time and energy creating something and you're so excited to share it with your fans, but you always have to be worried because it's going to be tainted. Because somebody's going to accuse you of some dumb shit. And then you already know I'll be vindicated, but nobody's going to believe or remember that I got vindicated. So what's the fucking point? That's going to wear on people after a while. That's been that poor man's life. And I think that honestly, him and Rihanna were both equally responsible for what happened that night. Nobody ever saw pictures of Chris's face. And was it right for what he did to her? No. But he hasn't done that since. And we need to learn how to forgive people. He's obviously worked on himself. He's obviously a great dad. But the way that people just pile on him so much, like, honestly, we're lucky that he's still with us. Because not a lot of people could withstand what him and Nicki and Tori and Prince and Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston and Kanye West and Britney Spears, and other people in this industry have dealt with some real hard shit. So, and nobody should ever be putting anybody's hands on anybody, but I also think that we have to come to a place where we can give people room to grow and change and forgiveness. And if we don't ever do that, then how does that encourage anybody to want to change for the better? That's the thing that's wrong with cancel culture. And I do believe that some people genuinely deserve to be canceled. Harvey Weinstein needs to stay canceled forever, obviously. Serial killers, forever canceled. But for a lot of other people, it's like if we don't give them that room to grow and to be forgiven and prove themselves, that doesn't ever encourage anybody to want to do better because it's like y'all already figured out that I'm a monster. You're going to always treat me like I'm a monster. So why would I need to do better if I'm just going to be villainized regardless of what I do going forwards? That doesn't help anybody. We have to find a balance in things. So You're not going to make me cancel Chris when Campbell is still thriving. Well, that's the thing, too. There's so many other people that in this industry that we know are absolute shitheads that have done horrible things and said some really horrible things, and they still got careers. I mean, Rick Ross talked about and Jay-Z, too, in the Monsters, song. But they've talked about R-wording people. Like, it's just crazy to me that it's like, there are some people that they just get away with fucking everything. But then some people, they make one mistake and they're never able to move past it. So it's just, keep the same energy. So how's his relationship with his mom? Spirit's saying it's a lot better. Being a parent himself has helped him heal a lot of his relationships with elder family members in general, but especially with his mom. With some of Chris's... Oh, sweet and spicy. Twin flames are not a real thing. So, I have a whole video on that if you need more information on it. What other questions do we got about Chris? Because I've got about 10 more minutes and then I got to get off of here. So just make sure you put question in the front of it. I know, Teddy. That's what sucks, though, because it's just like, whether Tory Lanez gets out of prison next week or does the full 10 years, he's going to be in that same position where regardless of whatever he tries to do, even if he got exonerated tomorrow, people would treat him the same way that they're treating Chris. And, you could have irrefutable evidence. Somebody found a video and it shows that Tory never went anywhere near and he was trying to stop it, and that gets released and everybody in the world sees it. There's still gonna be people that are like, no, he did it, and then just act like he's a monster forever too. It's so sad. Who is the Make Up Your Mind song about? Spirit saying Rihanna. Does Chris want to have more kids? Yes, he loves being a dad. This is the thing, those baby mamas better enjoy the time that they have with him right now, because at some point in the next couple years, Chris is not going to want to be doing the whole I'm dating 5 baby mamas at the same time song and dance, and he's going to want to settle down with one person, and he will meet the girl that's going to make him want to settle down with one person. And it's not going to be the baby mamas. And so, it's like they better enjoy themselves now, because he will end up being with one person in the next few years, somebody that he really, 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 really loves. Somebody who's very calm too. So I thought it was about his current harem contender. Oh my God. The third baby mama has a man now. Who's the third one? I always forget. Dude, it's so hard to keep up with all of the baby mamas. There's so many of them. It's so hard to keep up with them because it's like there's all of Nick Cannon's, there's Futures, there's you know, there's, oh my god, it's like there's so freaking many that like I just like cannot keep it all straight. Diamonds, oh, okay. So, well, anyways, guys, I gotta wrap it up because I gotta get off of here. If you guys wanted to book your own personal private reading, psychicbellelove.com. Black Friday is upon us, so 50% off any appointment on the site with code THANKS at checkout. And if you want to know more about the deep, dark secrets of the industry and the Illuminati, put in the ability to request celebrity readings, then you can join us on patreon.com/psychicbellelove. And I will see you guys. We have a video uploading tomorrow. And then we will be back for our next live on next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard, 2 p.m. Eastern. So, bye guys.